So there's this new card, which in the ACG is called Return of the Reaper. Now, I won't mention its TCG name, because as you probably know, you aren't allowed any profanity in the first 30 seconds of a video, and if I started to get into the absolute crime the localization did to this card, there's basically no way that this video wouldn't be immediately demonetized. Just imagine taking one of the coolest parts of 5Ds, and then watching the already bad dub until you find the single cringiest reference to Kiryu while still keeping plausible deniability of it actually being a reference to him, instead of just a slap in the face to anyone over the age of 4. That's what they did to this card. I mean, if they really wanted to make a random reference to that arc in the anime, they could have gone with this. Just saying. Anyway, Return of the Reaper it is. So what does this card do? Well, being a reference to Kiryu, it is of course an Infernity card. Its main purpose is giving the deck a bit of the consistency that it's been lacking ever since both Infernity Launcher and Infernity Archfiend got limited to 1. Whether they still need to be limited or not is another debate. They shouldn't be. But this helps the deck out by special summoning an Infernity monster from your hand, graveyard, or even Banish Zone. If you don't know the archetype too well, that might not sound too impressive, but it's actually basically a free loop of their main play, which is summoning out Necromancer, who in turn summons Archfiend, who then searches anything else, usually one of your copies of Infernity Barrier. Being a spell card instead of more monster support is also useful, since you want no cards in your hand for most of your effects to resolve. At worst, this card summons a monster from your hand to avoid bricking, or you could even just set it to use it later. But this isn't the only piece of recent Infernity support. And no, I'm not talking about the fairly recent wave that brought us stuff like Wildcat, even if that card is useful. No, I'm talking about some hidden tech that I also used in my For Hire build. Worldsea Dragons the Atlantis. Why does this card help? Well, if you know anything about Infernities, you'll know that, like my other favourite Synchro Spam deck, Karakuri, they basically don't have any hard once per turn clauses on any of their important effects. You'll be resolving Archfiend and Necromancer so many times that it'll make Flower Guardian plays look varied. I like that deck too. I think I have a type. While the Atlantis does have some battle phase stuff, and can disrupt the opponent's board a bit, the main advantages are its summon method and the board shuffle. Since it can be made as a single link 4 monster, you can go straight from Sayuja into this card. Sayuja is going to be something you make a bunch in the deck already, so being able to turn it into something else is really nice. But then it also has an effect where it banishes everything on the field before summoning them back. This is cool because if you make it with an Archfiend and a Necromancer or 2 on the field, you get to instantly use their effects all over again. So search another barrier, get rid of Archfiend, summon it back, search another barrier, you get the idea. Now, does this fix the deck's problems? Well, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't an all or nothing type deck. It still suffers from being inconsistent, and could lose to a well-placed hand trap before it gets going. But once you do get the right hand, you'll be performing loops for days, doing handless combos like there's no tomorrow. It's an acquired taste, and you'll need to be okay with losing to your own deck occasionally, but once you get a taste for it, there's no going back. Here's the deck. Here I went in for maximum high rolling, because if you're not doing that, well, why even play Infernity? Let's start with the Infernity monsters. Run 1 Archfiend, 1 Conjurer, 2 Patriarch, 3 Wildcat, 3 Necromancer, 3 Beetle, rounding it out with 1 Mirage. Archfiend is your priority to get into the graveyard, since your loops aren't really accomplishing much without this. Conjurer is an emergency material if you send it to the graveyard, and Patriarch can not only summon itself from the hand if you do draw it, but also it can protect an Infernity monster on the field when it's in the graveyard, which is actually super important since Barrier needs an attack position Infernity on the field to work, and this makes simply going into the battle phase with a high attack monster less viable for breaking the board. Wildcat's your main tuner, and the banish and level modulation effects can set up both Levia and Dugaris, while Necromancer is the second most important one for your loops since it's the monster reborn. Beetle is basically a free material, and helps make certain levels for the synchros a lot easier. Finally, I ended up only running 1 Mirage since it can be a bit bricky, but it's very strong when it does work, so I understand if you want to take the gamble on running more copies. Then we have some Fiend support. Stygian Street Patrol is a great discard to get another monster out of your hand, and Tour Guide gets out either a Necromancer or a Rhino Warrior, before making a Cherubini to send another level 3. Now for our spells, since we want to run a lot of those. Like Archfiend, you want to run as many launches as you're allowed to, and then also run 3 Return of the Reaper, and 1 or 2 Paranoia. This card allows you to basically swap one Infernity for another, while also getting one into your graveyard, which can be great for getting a Patriarch into your graveyard near the end, or just getting the right level tuner to make a Baron. Contract with the Void sounds like it would be pretty good, but honestly never really worked out too well for me, so I only run it at 1. Void Calamity is generally much better, both discarding and sending a monster. Then here's a controversial pick, Desynchro. This card allows you to make a Synchro, get its effects, and then return it to summon back its materials, before possibly just making it all over again. If the Synchro in question is a Trishula, you just make it again to banish up to 2 cards from your opponent's hand, while possibly getting to use both Archfiend and Necromancer again in between. At worst, you can make a Stardust Charge Warrior for a draw, as long as you have Sayuja's Summon ready to go for if you draw a monster, and then just desynchro it again to use Necromancer's effect. You can easily cut this if you want, but it's a great card to gain a lot of momentum very fast. Then to run a few more extenders, we have 2 Succession, a 1-for-1, a Monster Reborn, and a Foolish Burial. Found this out was the 3 barriers you'll be searching, and that's the main deck. For the extra deck, it's basically a toolbox of cards that will either help you loop or power up your end board. Run a Baron, which is easy to make with 100 Eyes Dragon and a Beetle. Then run any amount of Trishula, I went for 2, mostly for the hand looping and desynchro shenanigans. Charge Warrior and Cold Dragon are risky but can reward you well. Making them with Sayuja's special summon ready to be used mitigates most of the risk as well, so it's usually worth it. In the early stages, they can also be desynchro targets that unbrick your hand. Dawn Dragster is a back row negate that's easy to make. 100 Eyes Dragon is an extender with a convenient level, and Doom Archfiend is basically either here to climb, or to make as an emergency synchro when you realise that you don't actually have an attack position Infernity to make Barrier live. Dagares and Levia both loop and recycle some cards. You can make a Dagares by banishing a monster as Wildcat, and then revive the Archfiend you used as a material, before getting 2 level 3s on the field and reviving whatever you banished in the first place thanks to Levia. Sayuja's good at 2, but you could cut a Coral Dragon or a Trishula to run a 3rd one if you want to, because that could come up. Since the Atlantis is a hard once per turn, we do only run 1. We will always make it unless we brick though. Finally, Appaloosa can be a very good combo ender, while Cherubini is your go-to combo starter. Now like I mentioned, I run a few ratios that you might disagree with, or just cards like Desynchro. That's fine, if you want to make some tweaks, here are some options you could run instead. It's a deck that's very difficult to know what the optimal ratios are, so feel free to tell me any changes you make to the deck in the comments below. But enough of that. Let's get to what everyone really wants to see when it comes to Infernities, the combos. Now this is the part where I show you some test hands. However, I will be honest, I'm not brave enough to narrate 4 test hands in a deck like this, so I'll just go over some general pointers for the deck while letting you see it for yourself. These will apply to basically any hand you draw in this deck, so don't worry about it being completely in sync with the test hands I'm showing. Anyway, stage 1 will always be working out how you're going to empty your hand. With your discards, prioritise monsters that don't summon themselves, and get stuff like Stygian Street Patrol into the graveyard if you have too many monsters in your hand. When possible, get 2 level 3s out for a Cherubini, to then be able to send whatever you want. Then your goal is to get both Archfiend and Necromancer into the graveyard to start looping both of them for the searches. Your first search will usually be Launcher, since it discards future draws as well as reviving 2 whole monsters. You won't always be searching Barrier straight away either. It might feel a bit weird to search cards like Return of the Reaper that allow you to make another loop, instead of just searching what you wanted in the first place, but you're also building your board bit by bit, and since every loop is another 2 materials on the field, it does quickly add up. After getting the loop ready, you'll want to make a Sayuja with 4 materials as soon as you can. Ideally was also a way to revive Necromancer. It will draw 4 cards, and you get to keep whatever you want out of them since it can summon any monster from your hand. If you can already revive Necromancer and Archfiend, this could be a great time to search Mirage with Archfiend, and then summon that with Sayuja to get 2 more revives. At this point in your game, you'll want to get as many soft once per turns on the field as you can, before linking Sayuja into the Atlantis and using its effects, re-enabling them all once again. Past this point, it's just a game of looping your cards until you have all 3 barriers, with an attack position Infernity ideally with Patriarch also in your graveyard, and then whatever extra boss monsters you can master, possibly even hand-ripping a card or two as Trishula along the way. With that said, I'll be quiet now and let you see the rest of the combos for yourself. Enjoy! And so that's the deck. I've been waiting for Infernity to get a boost for a while now, and while this certainly helped, I think they should also get Archfiend and Launcher back at 3. What do you think about that? Tell me in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and also subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching!